YouTube, it's Mike here. I wanted to do a quick review. This is my stove. I repainted it a few years ago, and I went cheap and dirty, so I didn't prep it very well. And so as we look around here, you'll notice the paint is all peeling off, but the grate used to be a gold color. I did it in high gloss black, and then I did like the fire engine red with the rest of it. Originally this was a gold and this was like a browny gross color. I think these are from about the 70s. It's kind of an interesting unit. I'm still kind of debating with myself as to whether it's super efficient or not. I know it pumps out a pile of heat. You can see it's gotten a little bit hot here. I've used coal in it and wood. And it does have a sticker thing down here that it's a W678, maybe the 78th the year it was manufactured. It is a Suburban manufacturing, made in Tennessee. So yeah, it's an interesting one. I'm not sure whether this one's going to be able to pass any sort of a test or not. But basically it's a box inside a box, nothing overly complicated. It does have this neat little thing here, which is a dial that runs. It's got a bimetal spring up in this area, and that operates this air flap. It's got an ash clean out door here and its filler door here. I'm trying to remember. I think this thing is pretty well, I want to say it's over 24 inches long. It's fire brick lined. It's got air passages for secondary combustion. And the way it works, using this box, it brings the air in the bottom, and it does. You can actually see when there's particles in the air, a bit of smoke or whatever, it's pumping. The air's actively trying to push as hard as it can. And so it's an interesting stove. It right now I have it in my basement. There's a chimney port down here from an old coal stove. And there's also another hole that we've blocked off in the main upstairs. My idea is keeping the dirt down in the basement is nice because it obviously doesn't have to go upstairs, the dirt. I can run this thing down here. So on our main floor we have heated floors, and upstairs in the in the bedrooms and stuff, it's pretty nice as far as for sleeping because it's not over hot. And then I tend to have a few leaks down here anyway as far as getting air to it, and actually fairly close to the stove here. I have a window that's cracked open a little bit. I actually have a hose running through it right now. I may close that up a little bit, but it's not a good sealing window. And there's an old frame down in here. That is where the coal stove used to go. So I mean, putting the heat in the lowest point of the house and keeping the dirt down there and everything else is not a new idea. Knowing that heat rises, it kind of makes more sense to me. And I'm still not sure for anybody that wants to do wood stove heating or something like that, why we always seem to put stoves on main floors and whatever, because I know with this stove here, and I've put some, 5/8 fire retardant drywall above it on the ceiling joists to protect them. But then I have my cold air return that I've opened up, and that lets like a flow of air, plus I have the staircase, and that flows air through all fairly well. And then I've kind of rearranged my furnace ducting a little bit. I'm trying to think where I could even show you. There's one up there where I've just opened it, I guess you could say. I just pulled the duct off. I've got the duct. I can stick it back on when I want to use the furnace. But for right now, that's actually letting the cool air drop on the outside of the house. So I'm getting a circulation. I'm getting cool air dropping from the upper levels, and I'm getting the hot air coming from the lower levels. By having the floors heated on the main floor especially, I mean, you can walk around in your bare feet first thing in the morning. It could only be 19 degrees, but if you've got that heat in the floor a little bit more, it actually makes it feel so much warmer. It's quite amazing. And this thing, I mean, it hasn't gotten super cold yet, but this thing's kept up quite well. There's a couple of issues that I know of with these stoves. One of them, because they have this damper and people tend to set the temperatures in their house with the damper, I mean, that seems like it should be okay. But what often happens is you load this thing up full of wood, and if I get a chance, I'm going to open the door here. I'm a bit nervous right this second, but if you keep this damp down and you're burning even good quality wood, from what I understand, these, because they kind of smolder out and then they're opened up and back and forth, they tend to be a bit of a creosote queen as far as wood stoves go. So, I mean, I've actually lived in houses with these suburban style. I don't know if they were actually a suburban or not. I'm having a heck of a time finding information out on this one, but they were very well known for causing chimney fires because in the spring and in the fall, people, turn them down real low and let them kind of smolder away and not really open the air vent and let it do some serious burning. And so that creates a lot of creosote. Because when that damper closes, your secondary burn, everything gets shut down. So it does definitely create a lot of creosote. And I actually just had an experience, and I'm going to back up here and see if I can open this without hurting myself, but it did just blow out when it got some oxygen, which now it's not going to do. It's basically what it just did was I opened the door, and there must have been a lot of volatile gases in there, and it just shot a great big ball of flame out. That's actually only about the second time I've ever had it, and it was probably one of the biggest. And I don't know how far back in there you can see, but that is a big old firebox, and when it gets rolling, I mean, this is where the chimney fire happens, right? You get these flames that get going when it's left to its own devices, and if you've been smoldering it for 24 hours and barely had the door open, and then this happens where the flames are rocketing out the chimney, because that's what it tends to do, then you're in big trouble. So I'm gonna get this closed up. I'm pretty sure I'm good for creosote. I've been burning it here and there, but I am notorious for I always let it whistle pretty good for a while, to the point where my wife gets upset because it'll be under 10 degrees Celsius outside, and inside the house here will be 25 and 30 degrees Celsius, which is like hot summer day. We'll have windows open and everything else, but like I've explained to her, I prefer not to take the chance on the creosoting of the chimney. Close that up. You can see all the paint came off here. I got a lot of moisture in my basement too, so I don't think that helps. But it does. It's just literally a square box with a damper on it and some air channels inside and some fire brick, and it does send a fair amount of heat up the chimney when you got the doors open. But when you close it down, it does do the secondary burn, and it really controls the air. So yeah, that's the Suburban ugly, what do they call it, wood heater, and it'll cook you. And it does have an option. I'm not even going to try. This top can open up if you needed to cook on top of it and whatever. So yeah, let me know what you think. Not a bad stove if you can find one. They work well. but definitely something not for like a novice fire guy. You can load this thing up with pounds and pounds and pounds of wood. I've put layers of coal in it and burned that way. And it's kind of nice because, you know, if you get this thing full of a decent quality wood, you can pretty well walk away for, say, 12 hours. But you need to remember that when you do come down to load the wood, you need to open up that bottom door or whatever doors and get her to fire hard and get that chimney cleaned back up again to avoid a buildup. The other thing I've done is I've got a little bit more of an extension of stovepipe inside, so that I can clean that out a little easier. And I have a chimney sweep I made that I run fairly regularly, and the chimney's got a separate clean out below where the stovepipe goes in. So that all works out. But yeah, cool. That's the Suburban. And let me know what you think. Leave your comments. Ciao.